everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Abby.
And I'm Abby, and this is Between the Abbies, where we talk about the things that we don't talk about on our other pages.
Thank you guys so much for joining. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, we will have this one uploaded on YouTube. Abby and I are currently in different locations right now. As you can see, I am in my van. Abby is at her parents' house in North Carolina, but we are still going to upload this onto YouTube so you guys can watch from home. Thank you for being here and supporting this podcast. We are very excited to be here with you today, and we have some life updates. Abby, your life is kind of crazy right now. What is going on, girl?
Oh my gosh. So I'm at my parents' house right now, as you guys can see. I was actually supposed to fly back tomorrow to be back in my van, Junie. If you don't know, I got into an accident in August and my van is still not done, and it was supposed to be done last week, but they're missing this one little sensor part for the airbags that's on like national back order, so it's not going to be in for 4 to 6 weeks. So I was trying to figure out what to do, had a little bit of a mental breakdown about it, and then talked to some of my friends, and we are all leaving for Costa Rica on Friday, and we're going there for a month. So that's kind of my plan right now. By the time you guys are seeing this video, I'll be in Costa Rica, and the next podcast episode will probably be filmed in Costa Rica, so that's kind of fun.
Dude, good for you for just making the most out of the situation. I mean, I know how kind of gut-wrenching that feeling is of being so excited to go back to something and then having it not happen.
Yeah.
And just having to deal with it. But Costa Rica sounds so...
No, I'm excited. I feel like it's forced me to do things that I wouldn't normally do. Like, I wouldn't have come home for a month if this didn't happen, and I got to see my sister and my parents a lot. I wouldn't be doing this trip, but it is frustrating when it's like, it was supposed to be 2 months, and it's going to be over 5 months before I get my van back from the date of my accident, which is just like, I feel like I've been in limbo for forever, but it'll work out. You've been having a rough week too, though, sure. So...
Dude... Guys, I'm so sick right now. I'm gonna try to keep my energy up this podcast, but I've had the flu for the last 4 or 5 days, and it's been a great week. Like, I've had friends visiting, and it's been so fun. I was at an Airbnb for a while. I just went to a concert the other night, but I have been battling the flu for the last 4 or 5 days, and my symptoms have just basically been sore throat, fever, chills, body aches, just the whole 9 yards. And today I'm finally feeling better, but I feel like nobody ever talks about being sick in a van. You know, Abby, I'm sure you can relate.
I've never been sick in my van.
Okay, lucky girl. Okay, in the last 3 years, I've had COVID 5 times, and almost every time I've spent it in my van, and it is the worst experience. Actually, my first week on the road, my first week on the road was the first time I got COVID. I had to quarantine in Joshua Tree. It sucked. Anyway, there's just no good things about it. You wake up in the middle of the night just drenched in sweat, and all you want to do is take a shower. You got baby wipes, dude. You got baby wipes, and you have a composting toilet. That's it.
It's so brutal.
So we've been hanging in there. I'm feeling better today, though. I think by tomorrow I'll have come full circle. Gonna take a nice Planet Fitness shower after this. But yeah, I'm really excited to be back in the warm weather because this cold, rainy season is killing me.
Yeah. What is even the temperature there right now?
It's probably 35 today. It's cold.
Dang. Yeah. I am happy to not be there. It's been in the 60s and 70s in Charlotte since I've been home, which is really nice. You can kind of wear whatever you want. You can wear pants and a sweater, but you could also wear a short sleeve shirt, and you're kind of content in anything, which is the perfect weather. So it's been good. But I do feel nice. For us, you being sick, me having all this stuff happen with my van, it does make me feel really grateful for how flexible our jobs are. Because coming from I used to work in public accounting, and getting sick or having something like this happen, it would just be undoable. And we both kind of do the same thing.
I feel so grateful for the opportunity to just be able to take a day off and rest. I feel like that's probably one of the best parts of this job is it's completely up to you how much you want to work. And I've just been able to set my phone down and not work for the last few days, which has been really nice because I haven't even really been looking at my phone. Yeah. Honestly. But yeah, I feel like we should kind of go more into that because we get a lot of questions on our pages on first of all, what we do for work. I feel like that's one of the most commonly asked questions.
Or
And
like
second
people
of
don't
all,
ask
like,
it in a
what that
nice
looks like.
way all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys
People are
must...
like, you have daddy's money.
But here we are, and we can show you what we actually do for money. I've never gone in depth into it on my page. Have you?
I have before a few times. Yeah. Basically, Abby and I both do social media full time. We kind of have actually like basically the same exact job.
Yeah.
And it's great. Abby, how did you start out doing social media?
So this is really embarrassing, and if you scroll really far back on my page, I've never deleted anything. But when I was in college, I didn't come out until I was like 21, and it was my senior year of college, and it was right... I had been out for like a year, but then COVID hit, and I felt like there was just so much representation on TikTok. Like it was right when TikTok was like becoming really popular. And so I just started watching a lot of people on there, and then I was like, maybe I should just make videos too. So I started making just TikToks about being queer and also a lot of like political content. It was right around the election. And I grew a following on there. I think I had like 100,000 followers before I left in the van. And when I was building the van, I did not capitalize on that like I could have, because I was still working in public accounting full time, and I was working like 60-hour weeks and then trying to build out the van on the weekends, and I just did not want to film. I did get a lot of clips and stuff, but I never like formally put them together into videos. But yeah, so then when I hit the road, I had just quit my job. I was living off of savings because after college, I moved home with my parents, and I was here for 2 years working full time. And so I wasn't paying rent or paying for food or anything like that. The only expenses were really building my van. So I was able to save up a lot of money. So when I hit the road, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a year off and live on my savings and live in the van, but I'm going to treat social media like a job. And so I made it a rule for myself that like I had to post at least one TikTok video a day. And I don't do that anymore. I feel like I just a couple months ago realized that I don't have to be like as strict on myself with stuff like that. I still try to post as much as I can, and there will be weeks where I'm posting 2 to 3 times every day, and then weeks where I post 3 times in the week or whatever now.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's how I was able to grow my following really quickly. It was just I was super like consistent with it and pretty strict on myself. But it worked out really well. Here we are. How did you get started?
No, I love that. I honestly feel like our lives are kind of creepily similar. It's so funny hearing you talk about it because, yeah, when I want to say it was probably back in 2020 or 2019 is when I started TikTok. And I started it before I even had the van. I was living at my parents' house. It was when COVID had just started, so end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And I was just making like silly little TikToks that were for some reason blowing up and gained like 100,000 followers and didn't really take it seriously. I was just really here for the attention. I'm a Leo, and so I was like,
no, same girl.
People are paying attention to me. I couldn't stand it being quarantined in my mom's house. Nobody could see me.
No, I loved it. I was like, I was never thinking about it at first as anything that I could possibly make money off of. I just liked people liking my videos and a lot of people seeing me.
Yeah, dude, you're a Scorpio. It makes
I'm a
Scorpio. But yeah, so I was just doing that, and then when I bought my van, I really started to make more videos about it because it was never something that I planned on doing, but I can't say there wasn't a part of me that was like that didn't think I could do it. I definitely knew that was something that I could do and something that I would love to see happen if that did become a job for me. But I never really, I guess, treated it like a job. It was just kind of like I posted videos when I wanted to and when I felt like it. And a lot of them just started blowing up. And I think I reached like 500,000 in the first year, I guess. And that's once I hit like 500K is when I started charging and like getting brand deals and stuff. But yeah, and then I signed with an agency after that. And since then, it's been going really well, and I've been doing it full time for going on 3 years now, so
nice.
I really like it. I am really thankful for just all the opportunities it gives you for traveling, especially in a van. Like there's so much flexibility with having your job be social media. But there are like a lot of cons to it as well. So I don't know. What do you think, like, oh, how do I put this? What do you think like the best parts are of having your job be like an influencer online?
So one of my favorite parts, I feel like, is like connecting with people. And I've really noticed that even through like my accent and everything, the amount of support and like advice that I've been given, or just like random people that feel like they know you online that are so willing to help you out, is just like such a beautiful thing that I will never take for granted. But like I was able to get a loaner van for free, like just for posting content with it or things like that. And also I've just like meeting people in person. And then also the creativity aspect behind it, because I've said this before, but I'm a CPA. I worked at a Big Four public accounting firm for 2 years before I started doing social media. And there's no creativity in that. Like there was no freedom for me to like really express myself and my personality. And I saw I don't remember who it was, but there was one influencer that said this, and it really hit home for me, that it was like, you're not a person when you're working a normal 9 to 5 job, but like you're a person when you're doing this job. Like you can be yourself. You can like have your own feelings about whatever. You can like really put your personality into it. And I really like that aspect of it.
So yeah, before I was actually a content creator, I was a photographer for I guess like 4 years, from the age of like 16 to 20.
That's crazy.
I was a wedding and portrait photographer, and I loved it. I actually have thought multiple times about going back into it. It was a lot of work. Especially starting as like a 16-year-old, because when you're at a wedding doing the photography for it and people ask how old you are and you're like, I'm 16, they're like, are you even allowed to drive? Like, how are you photographing our daughter's wedding? But I loved it, and it allowed for so much creativity, and it was so fun. But as soon as I started doing social media and realized like how successful you could be with social media, with I don't want to say very little effort, because it is a lot of work, but as far as like brand deals and stuff go, which we'll go into in a second, it's definitely, less energy than shooting an entire wedding. So
yeah, for sure.
That's where I'm like, it just makes the most sense for me now. But do you want to talk about a little bit like what the job entails? Because I feel like when you say like we do social media for work, a lot of people don't really understand what that means, or like what goes into that, or how we actually make money from it. You know?
Yeah. So I feel like it would be helpful to do like a breakdown of like income sources and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But basically, I mean, both of us post super consistently. So that's like most of that kind of work is unpaid, right? You're just kind of posting, keeping your audience engaged. And then usually like, I don't know, 2-3 times a month, depending, you can do brand deals, and that kind of varies a lot. Like you can go months without a brand deal, and you can have a month where you have 7 brand deals. And so it kind of just depends on like when brands are wanting to do stuff with you, but usually they'll reach out. Like you'll have an email in your bio, they'll reach out. We both have agents, so they reach out to our agents, and then our agents will come to us and kind of give us the layout of the opportunity after they negotiate prices and stuff like that. And then like I get to say, yes, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. Yes, I'm interested in this. No, I'm not interested in this. Because I think as an influencer, it's really important to only accept things that really work well with your audience, and that you know that your audience is really going to perceive well, and also things that you feel you really strongly support as a company. So looking into like the ethics of the company, or if it's a product that you do already actually use or could use in your daily life, or like something that you've been wanting to get but you just haven't gotten, are kind of usually the things that I would say we go for. And then after that, usually the payment terms are really long. Like I would say an average of like 60 days. So you don't see the money for a while. But then also I would say probably 10 to 20% of my income comes from views on TikTok. TikTok just released a new creativity beta program that is
Yeah.
actually really good, and pays pretty well. It's also inconsistent, and it really depends on like how much you post that month. Say you had a video go really viral that month, then that could be a really good month in that. But if you haven't had a video go really viral, it's you can't really rely on any income. You have to be good with your money if you're going to do this job.
It's very inconsistent, for sure. Like there have been, I mean, when I moved to Europe, I was with an agency that was going to sign me over to their office in the UK. And was stoked. I had been with that agency for over a year, like was super happy with working with them. And then when I got to Europe, they dropped me. So it was like I had income planned for when I got there, and I was like had a job lined out, and then I just got there and they were like, oh, sorry, yeah, no, actually we changed our minds and we're not gonna represent you anymore. And so
That's
then
crazy.
I didn't work for, when I was in Europe, I had no income for about 5 months, I want to say.
That's so
And
stressful.
then I, built this van, which I built this van completely off of savings, and completely depleted my savings building this van, and didn't work the whole time because I just didn't have an agency and didn't have any work lined up, and stuff was really slow at the beginning of this year. Like every creator was struggling. It was pretty crazy, but now I'm with a different agency and things are going really well, but it's very unpredictable, and you're not like on salary or anything. It's just kind of what you take what you can get.
Yeah.
As far as the deals go. So it can be really stressful.
Yeah, I feel like with the lifestyle that we live, like we both live in vans where we don't necessarily have like rent every month. I have a car payment, but that's not as expensive as rent, or people like I don't have student loans or things like that. So it's like I feel like our expenses are pretty low. It's like we're paying for like gas and groceries and any fun activities that we want to do, like phone bill, insurance, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
compared to the average person that's just living in a city, when I talk to my friends that are living in a city, their expenses are significantly higher than mine. So I think that it's a lot easier to plan out because we have way less fixed expenses than the average person.
For sure. But there can be like a lot of unpredictable expenses
That's
that
true.
can go crazy. Like with car payments, or like, or not car payments, but like car repair payments.
That's
like
true.
if your van breaks down, you can't wait to get it fixed. You have to like get it fixed or you don't have a home.
Yeah.
I guess there's just pros and cons to each lifestyle for sure, and it all depends how much you're kind of willing to how much you're willing to do for what you want to do,
No, for
live this
sure.
lifestyle.
I just think I look at a lot of influencers that live and say you live in like New York City and you're paying $3,000-$4,000
New York's
a
gonna
month
be
for
way
rent,
more expensive.
and then you're having
Yeah.
this inconsistent of income. Like I don't think that I could do that.
No,
You
absolutely
know,
not.
like I feel like
No, I would never live in New York.
if say I'm like having a slow period and say I went through a slow period and I wasn't making any money, I could just not go do like a lot of fun activities and not travel as much, save money on gas. Like obviously there would be unpredictable, but like expenses if you got into like to where your car like van broke down or something like that. But I do feel like when I look at I do like a lot of my friends' budgets because I'm an accountant, and just like looking at all of their fixed expenses compared to mine, I'm usually like, holy shit, it's wild.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, what would you say about, because I didn't get an agent until like 3 months ago, so I worked as a content creator and worked with brands kind of without that for a while, and now I have one, so I've seen the difference. What do you feel about like, what do you think the pros and cons are of having an agent versus not?
I love having an agent. I don't know. When I first started out, I think I only did like 2 brand deals before I signed with an agency.
Okay.
Just because having an agent allows you to have so many more opportunities, because these agencies are already connected with these brands, right? They have the contacts for the brands, they know how to negotiate, they have the rapport with the brands, like they have the relationship, whereas you don't yet. And you can form that relationship with brands for sure, but it takes a lot more time and a lot more energy. And for me, I was already spending enough time on my phone filming, and I hate spending that much time on my phone. And so I would have just rather kind of added a middleman to the situation to cut out my time in that. And, you know, the agency takes 20%.
Yeah.
Usually it's 20%. Pretty much every agency, that's kind of the standard. But I feel like they can end up getting you like twice as many deals. Like when I signed with an agency, my deals ended up going up like 4 times.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really thankful for it. And since then, I really haven't been without an agency. I've gone through 3 different agencies. God, how many times can I say agency in one sentence? I've gone through 3 different agencies in the last 3 years. And the one I'm with now is currently my favorite. I love my manager. She is an angel. Hi, Izzy, if you're watching this. I love you so much. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy not having to email with brands back and forth all the time.
Yes.
Also, I feel like when you have a third person doing it, like managing your deals, they can be a lot more pushy and persuasive with the brand because they're representing you. They're not you. Whereas I feel like when you're doing it yourself, it's a lot harder to, you know, kind of set boundaries and state your business and what you need out of the situation and your rates and like really advocate for yourself. And it's a lot easier when you have an agent doing that for you. So I don't know if I would ever be without one after doing it. Like I could not recommend them more. If you're a content creator and you're getting a lot of brand deals coming in and you just don't know how to manage them, I would highly recommend reaching out to an agency because they are amazing.
Yeah, mine, I wasn't planning. So I agree. I love having an agency. I don't think that I would do it now without one. And I also love my agent, Lulu. She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And she saved me like so much time because for like 6 months, I was doing it by myself and I was doing a lot of brand deals. Not a lot, but like a decent amount of brand deals. And so I was spending a lot of time responding back and forth with emails, trying to negotiate. And when I met with her, she was like, this is what I think that your rates should be. And my jaw hit the floor. Like, I was like, there's no way. And we actually had that conversation when we first met because I was out in San Diego working with a brand, and we were just kind of talking about work, and she had been doing, like, Abby had been doing social media for longer than I had, so I was kind of asking her about it. And she was like, well, how much did you charge them for this? And I told her, and she was like, girl, like, you are getting so taken advantage of. And they even told me kind of after, like, the guy was like, you need to get a really good agent, like, because he knew I charged the least amount. And those videos, I posted 3 videos for them. Altogether, those 3 videos got like over 2 million views, and I like did not charge enough for that. But it's like those are learning experiences for me, and I think I learned so much about how the business works from doing the back end stuff that I just feel like I have, I don't know, a better understanding of it. And then I also just like really appreciate all the stuff that Lulu does for me because I like realize kind of how much is going into it. But I agree. She also does. I always say that, like, because people are like, they take 20%, that's so much. And I'm like, she pays for herself and then some, because every deal that she gets me at least 20% more than I would have gotten for myself. So 100%, I don't even feel like I'm spending any money on it because I don't even see that money, right? Like all of them, all the brands pay my agent and then agency, and then they pay me. So like it's not like I'm like physically handing her a check for like thousands of dollars. So it just doesn't even feel real. Sure.
But yeah, it's kind of surreal. Like when I mean, going from being a full-time photographer and making less than half of what I make now, but doing so much work. Like I was always on my computer editing, always driving to photo shoots, doing the shoots, doing weddings, and then editing all the time. Like there was not a time where I wasn't working. I was probably working 50, 60 hours a week sometimes. As like an 18-year-old. And I
That's
loved
crazy.
it. It was great. I loved being a photographer. But going from that to now, it's just I never realized that this was a thing that you could do. You know,
Yeah.
like when I got my first offer for a brand deal, I was like, they want to pay me how much? Like,
And they probably weren't offering to pay you as much as they should have.
Oh, it was like the smallest amount
Yeah.
possible that they could have, and I could have negotiated higher. And then I remember I posted it on my close friend story, and my friend Clara responded to it. She was the one that hooked me up with my first agency. And she was like, girl, ask them for twice that amount.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? You think I should? And she was like, do it. And I did. And they were like, sure.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
That's the craziest thing is when you just get to the point
Yeah.
where you're like, okay, I'm just going to shoot my shot here. Unless it's a brand that you like really want to work with and you want them to pick you.
Yeah.
Just shoot your shot.
Yeah.
It's like the worst they can say is no. And usually
yeah.
they're not going to say like, oh no, that's too high. We don't want to work with you at all. They'll meet you somewhere in the middle. So you'll still end up ahead,
Yeah.
but it's always worth it to just like throw it out there.
Oh, yeah. Or, like, my favorite thing to do is if they say, oh, our max budget for this month is this amount of money, and it's under your rate, you could just be like, well, do you have any opportunities next month? And you could match my rate. And usually they're like, yeah.
Oh, I've
So-
never even thought about that.
Because sometimes they do have, like, a max budget for the month.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just, like, the technicalities of it. But, yeah, social media is great. But there are some negative sides to it, I will say. And part of those negative sides are the freaking comments.
Yes.
You guys can be ruthless.
Not you guys. I'm going to give you
Not
guys
you guys,
the benefit
but-
of the doubt.
I want to say you guys in like a very broad general sense.
Yeah.
Just you guys as people who consume media.
Yes.
Anyway, we've been going through our comment sections and looking at our past Unhinged comments from some people on the internet who did not have some nice things to say, and we wanted to read some for you today because, oh my god, they can get intense.
Oh my god. Okay, I put mine into categories because I feel like they
You're
fall.
so organized.
I feel like they fall into 5 major categories for me. So
I love that.
should I just start?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what's category number 1 for you?
Category number 1 is homophobic comments because
Love
every
that.
time I
That's-
post
yep.
about being gay, like I posted a Pride Month post and immediately lost 2,000 followers on Instagram. Every time I post about it on
Fun.
TikTok, like lose hundreds of followers. And it's like I'm still going to post about it because at the end of the day, like it's my page and
Yeah.
I'm going to post what I want to post. And also, like I was saying earlier, I found so much representation in social media that like I want to be that for someone else. But anyway, the comments are kind of crazy. So here's this one I was actually telling you about earlier. So this was when me and Abby were at ACL and we went and got tattoos, and they said, yeah, like this is what we signed up to see. A bunch of flat-chested lesbians getting tattoos. I'm so out of here.
It's like, yeah, that's exactly what you're watching.
First of all, I know it's like funny
Thank
because
you.
I was like, I don't even know like how to be offended by this because it's true.
Because it's so true.
But my mom, the funniest part about this comment is that my mom responded to her and said, so do you want to see a bunch of lesbians with big boobs getting tattoos? It's like, why are you even pointing out they were
What would you
flat-chested? Like, we
prefer
know.
there? we know.
But yeah, and then a bunch of people, the greatest part about the internet, or at least what I've found, is people will leave hate comments, but then it immediately like turns around, and by the time I see the hate comment, there's already like 5 comments of people defending me. Like all the people were commenting
Yeah.
back to her like, actually that's exactly what I signed up to see. I love this content. Like this is perfect. But yeah, then
That's what we're here for.
same girl, she's crazy. Actually, all the homophobic ones I screenshotted are from her because they were on the same post.
Oh my god.
She said, glad you're enjoying Montana and this great country's beauty instead of sitting at home obsessing about being gay.
Wait, because that's what we do. We just sit at home and we think about being gay.
I mean, that is what I do. But she didn't have to say it. Like, I think about being gay at least 5 times a day. So, I mean, she's right. But even when I'm out enjoying Montana's beautiful country, I'm still thinking about being gay. So, joke's on you, Angie.
It's just like, it's just because you're in Montana, you just don't think about it anymore. That's what she thinks.
I'm just straight now.
She's straight when she's in Montana, but she's at home and she's gay for sure.
And then, so some of my friends were like responding, defending me. And then one of her responses to the defense of that was, I'm giving her feedback as a viewer, and your comparison is really inaccurate about straight people. We don't feel the need to bring it up when it's unrelated. Abby's videos are about van living, which I appreciate because I've been doing it for 3 years. I enjoy seeing the places she visits that I've been also. I appreciate her excitement. She doesn't need to highlight her lesbianism and make some videos just about that. Since this is obviously a big source of income for her, she needs to care about the opinions of her viewers. And to that, I responded to her, Angie, I don't remember when I started cutting you checks to make content that you liked, but last time I checked, you weren't paying me anything. So.
Damn. Hell yeah. Angie sounds confused about her own opinions.
I think I blocked her, but she was really entertaining for a second, so.
She does sound entertaining. Holy shit, yeah. Girl is passionate about what she believes in, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then all the rest, like, you know, you just get a lot of comments that, like a lot of people were calling me slurs and stuff in my DMs and shit like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That's just, like, not as funny, so.
Yeah, that's just, like, kind of find something more original.
Yeah, I'm
like, try harder.
Be creative.
Be more creative.
That's why I liked Angie's, because I was like, I feel like you're
it.
creative. Like,
yeah, she's like creating up scenarios in her own head.
I know.
You know?
Anyway, what's your first category of hate?
So, there was this time a couple years ago when I was posting that people just hated me for some reason. Like, all my comment sections were just filled with just the most disgusting, misogynistic comments ever. And it was hilarious, honestly. Like, I would read them and I'm like, damn, guys, that was really unwarranted, but I'm impressed. My mom would go back and respond to them. But there was this one video where I posted it was like a POV, and it was like me walking out of my Tinder date's house after just using it to shower, because this is something I did when COVID was happening. And Planet Fitnesses were closed. It was like my first 3 months on the road. There was no gyms open. The only showers I could get publicly were like the beach showers at the beach that were cold. Mm-hmm. And so like I hadn't had a real shower in a long time. Didn't have any friends in the area. And so I would like match with someone on Tinder and be like, hey, is it okay if I like used your shower? And usually they'd be like, fuck yeah. Like that's no problem at all. I don't care. And they were super nice about it. And I never had any bad experiences with it. And I always told my friends, like, this is where I'm going. Like, I kept it pretty safe. But, no, I thought it was hilarious. And they usually thought it was hilarious, too. And it was just very chill. But I posted that. And all the comments were so out of left field. So most of them, you know, kind of alluded to the idea that I would have to put out in order to get a shower, which is just ridiculous. So, you know, one guy said, what did he get out of the deal? And that's just, that was just very, very original, right?
It's like, I'm not surprised, but.
Yeah, and then someone said, very common for people to use dating sites for showers, food, money, and all for the promise and possibility of sex.
You're like, so when did I promise anyone that?
No, yeah. Just people just don't really, I feel like people just expect the worst out of people, honestly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good people out there. And then someone said, LOL, so you got to give it up to shower. Seems like you got the short end of the deal. And that was all the comments on this. But the funniest thing about this video, right, is my friend Bo Martino. I don't know if you follow him, but he texted me and was like, hey, I want to do an experiment. Can I post basically like the same video that you posted, just of my own? And see what the comments are. Oh. And so he posted the same thing as a dude. And he was like, using my Tinder date's house to shower, ha ha ha. Same sound, same video, basically, just of him. All the comments were like, fucking savage, dude. You like, good idea. This is so smart. And I was like, oh my God. And he posted a pinned comment, I think, or something, to where he was like, if you're commenting good stuff on my video, but then also at the same time commenting misogynistic things on Abigail Martin's video, like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know? Like, what's up with that? Just because he's a man, he can do that, and it's totally okay. So that was like, I think it's also, it was a like, big thing.
Part of it is the fact that people assume that, and honestly, like, rightfully so, but like that men would expect sex for something like that, but women wouldn't.
Yeah.
And also, right? Like, the safety aspect of it, they're, like, basically calling themselves out. Like, they're talking to you about how unsafe predators. It is to come do that because they could be, like, I don't know, a predator to you, yet, like, they just, like, wouldn't expect a woman to be a predator.
It's 100%. It's like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like, they're kind of just calling themselves out on that.
Well, it's kind of like, what would they do to you if you came to shower is basically what they're saying.
Yeah, they're like saying that, oh yeah, it's me you have to worry about. That's why. But yeah, and then there was this other time. So when I moved back from Europe, basically, if you don't know, I was living in Europe for like 5 months with my ex, and then I moved back from Europe, but we were still dating. And then when I moved back, I posted this video that was, you know, explaining my reasons for moving back, just to kind of regain my sense of self, to get some stability, and just regain my independence in a way, because I felt like I had lost a lot of myself in this relationship that I was in. And I posted a video about that, and I felt like the video was very honest and well spoken, and I felt very good about it. The internet didn't. So, lesson learned. I had entire news articles, Reddit forums, Twitter threads written about me. The Twitter threads had like 500 retweets. It was ridiculous. The title of this news article says, "Van life influencer Abigail Martin ditches boyfriend in Europe." And the whole thing just goes on to talk about how I ditched my boyfriend, I'm the worst person ever. And then this guy on Twitter tweeted about it and said, "What's she running away from? Some people could have it all and not realize it, ever." And all the comments are like, someone should call his mom and warn her about this heifer. And it was just, like, ridiculous. Oh
my God.
Yeah, and there was, like, a Reddit thread written about it. Someone said the nose ring says it all. People hate my nose ring for some reason. I'm never going to take it out.
Don't take it out.
Someone said, "She seems awful and I wish her the worst."
Oh my God.
But yeah, I feel like anytime women show their sense of independence and like kind of advocating for themselves, sometimes men see it as a threat. And I don't want to say like all men, because I definitely think there's a lot of good men out there who wouldn't see that as a threat, but a lot of insecure men would. So
for sure,
take that as you will.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway.
Damn.
Apart from the homophobic ones, which ones have you been getting as well?
That's brutal. So I feel like I have 3 more categories, but the next one is like either trust fund or like they don't believe that I built my van myself. I'm putting those in the same category because they go into, in order to live in a van and have a van, my dad must have paid for the van, built the van, and pay me money monthly for me to survive. Which none of that is true. Someone's gonna clip that and but this was the first video that I posted when my van was finished. It was like a compilation of my whole build. I was like so proud of it, so proud of how the van turned out. I got thousands of comments on this video, and I had taken my van on my first trip to Shenandoah National Park. I was there for 4 days. I didn't have any cell service. So I posted it a couple hours before I got into the national park, and it hadn't like gone crazy. The comments were really nice. And then when I got out of the national park, it had millions of views and thousands of comments, and everyone was being horrible. And I was like, oh my God. So man, I wish my parents could afford for me to live any life I wanted to. Must be nice having that golden platter. No business experience or no building experience. Yeah, okay. Nice project. Well done, Dad. Love watching rich white girls pretend to be homeless. Is this more cultural appropriation for you or just poverty cosplay? Poverty fetishes really do be real. Damn, you really drained Daddy's wallet for Instagram likes. Every shot just screams, okay, now let me hold that tool while you film me really quick. Where's your dad in these videos? Very irritating when rich people get to live the easy life. Good for you, hun, but you have to admit it's easier when you're born into wealth. Anyway, I could go on and on and on.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean,
but yeah.
I feel that.
And the whole like funny part about it is my dad didn't build anything on my van. There were a couple very specific days where I needed him to help me like lift stuff onto the roof or whatever.
Yeah.
But my mom spent every single second grinding on that van with me, and she was so pissed at all these comments because it was just like so frustrating. Like, we've just spent the last 7 months 20 hours every weekend, like putting our heart and soul and blood and sweat and tears into this project, and it's like,
yeah,
it was so frustrating. And I had
for sure,
I had posted before that, I'd been posting a lot of queer content, so I was used to a lot of homophobic type comments, and those were so much more hurtful because I was like, how can you just not believe that I did this? Like, I wish that you could just watch what I've put into this the last few months.
Oh, completely. No, I remember so hard. Like, you work so hard for something, and you're so excited to see how it turns out. And not only, like, just for yourself, but you're excited to show other people what you created, because that's, like, a lot of hard work. And, yeah, I remember those moments of, you know, after posting a final van tour of my video and all the comments being like, oh, well, you better thank your dad for that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, so glad you have daddy to pay for it. And I'm like, first of all, my dad hasn't paid for anything since I was like 17. And second of all, I wish, like, I fucking wish it was that easy. But, like, also, I'm really proud of myself for working that hard. And I don't really know what it is with people, how they see someone, like a girl online who just worked really hard for something, and they automatically expect that somebody else had to have the credit for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is no possible way that she could ever think for herself, let alone do something herself.
Oh my God.
And that is so fucked up in society today. Like, how people just expect the very least out of women when they should expect the most, because I feel like the most of the women I know are like the most badass individuals.
Yeah. No, for sure. It is really disheartening because it's like, especially when you're in a scenario, and I think it's like people are hiding behind their keyboards. They want to believe that there's a reason why they couldn't do what we did, right? So they're like, okay, well, you must have had it easier because it's really hard. And you know what? It is really fucking hard. You have to work a lot, save up a bunch of money to do this project. And then unless you're in a situation where you have over $150,000 to spend on a van, you're going to probably have to build it yourself. And you spend so much time researching, so much time building, so much time messing up and redoing it. And then it's like you get so excited to show it off, and people are just like, you didn't do that. And you're like, what is wrong with you? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like, it just comes with, I feel like, just being a woman in general. Like, any sense of, or any life accomplishment that you have is just automatically downplayed by society, where if you worked really hard for something, people automatically assume that you would help with it. And if you don't work hard for something, or you fail at something, people think it's your fault, or because you're a woman that you did that. Oh, well, a man could do that so much easier, or a man could do that better.
Yeah.
And you just can't win. Like, there's no winning when it comes to that argument. There's just knowing that you know your worth, and that you know that you tried your best, and that you're probably never going to have everyone's approval, and that fucking sucks. But I don't know, I struggle with that a lot, where I'm like, what scenario can I put myself in to where I'll finally have everybody on my side? And it's just
never. You're never.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's frustrating because you look at it, and you kind of brought up a similar scenario with this, but if a 25-year-old guy would have posted the same video that I did, people would have been like, dude, like, that's sick, like, good for you, it turned out so great, and like totally believed that he did it.
Yeah.
And so it is frustrating. And I think it was frustrating too, because even though I came from a conservative field, like, I don't know, I feel like at least the company that I worked for was really progressive, and like I felt like I was like always very respected, and like my opinions mattered, and people like, you know, like, I don't know. And so when you almost feel like that doesn't exist until you kind of realize that it still does.
What people don't realize about doing social media, and I don't want to come on here and be like, social media is so hard, blah, 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 because it is a very easy job. Like, regardless of what you think about social media. And I know a lot of influencers want to come on here and be like, it's so hard, your whole life's online. I get it, but like compared to blue collar work, compared to a lot of things, it's so fucking easy, guys. Like, you know, don't come at me with that. But people don't understand is if you walked into a job interview, right, for being a social media influencer or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It would be like if the interviewer was like, you're going to make this amount of money. This is the amount of hours you're going to work. This is what your job entails. Oh, and by the way, every time you walk into the office, everyone is going to be screaming at you and telling you how awful of a person you are and how ugly you are and how worthless you are and to off yourself. Yeah. Every day. In your DMs, you know, they're just going to be telling that to you all the time. And there's nothing you can do about it. And if you complain about it, then they're also going to talk shit on you for that. So it really gets to you sometimes. I try not to read hate comments anymore for that reason. But it can really weigh on you, and there's been a lot of influencers who have quit because of it, you know?
It's frustrating because then when you complain about the hate comments, like say you get a lot of hate comments that are just like really unnecessary, and then you complain about it, people are like, well, you put yourself in this position, you're putting your whole life online, like what did you expect was going to happen? And it's like, you know, sometimes I expect people to just be fucking decent human beings.
Yeah, which I can... see that, right? It's kind of comes with a job, you know. You put your life online, or you put your life online, and you sign up to have criticism, and that's the same thing that comes with being an actor or being a musician or being anything. You just kind of agree to that criticism and agree to take it with a grain of salt, but it does weigh on you for sure. But now I just look at hate comments and try to just laugh about them because I think they're hilarious.
I have one more category that I want to go through really quick because I know that you get these too. Yeah. Yep. I get so many comments, and these boil my blood more than any of the other ones. Anyone else got the Gabby vibes? Oh wow, didn't know Gabby Petito did a DIY video. Don't get petitoed. Be smart out there. Like so many comments like that. And
those are disgusting.
It's so frustrating to me because one, they're mostly coming from men, and two, like Gabby Petito lived in a van, and that's a tragic story, but she was a victim of domestic violence, and like her death had nothing to do with her living in a van. Like if her and her boyfriend were living in a house, that whole situation still could have happened. And I don't know, it just really frustrates me.
It's also just disgusting to take someone who's gone through such a tragic situation and who was such a beautiful person and turn her life into just knowing her name by what happened to her when she died. Yeah. You know, like that's just disgusting, and I hate when people do that. And how it's become a common phrase, especially in the van life community. Like not in the community, but like when people talk about van life who know like who Gabby Petito was. That's just fucking gross. Like there's no excuse for that behavior at all. You don't sign up for that when you get on social media. That's people who don't know boundaries at all. And I hate that so much. I get those comments a lot too, and I always try to either ignore them, or if they get really bad, then I just delete them because I don't think that's acceptable. And I'll block the people. I'm like, there is some stuff that I just don't tolerate on my page, and that's one of them.
Yeah. No, it's like I think also, like, she was such a beautiful, like, adventurous person, and she had, like, such a passion for so many things, and, like, they're basically then turning it around and using what happened to her to try to convince people that they shouldn't ever do anything fun or adventurous or whatever.
Well, yeah, they're using her death to define all of her, and that's really sad because she was... Like, they shouldn't be using that to define her at all. They should be, I don't know, thinking of her in the highest of sense. So. Yeah.
Anyway.
It is a really big tragedy, though.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's, horrible and so sad. And if you're listening to this and you've ever thought about commenting something like that, don't.
Don't. Yeah, think before you comment. Because there's real people reading them. Like, I feel like that's one thing people don't realize is... when you have an online presence and people are commenting on your videos and stuff, they just think they're talking to a robot in a way, or they don't connect the dots between is that a real person or not. And no, there's real people reading that. Like, you are someone's daughter, you are someone's sister. You know.
No, I'm bad. I read almost every comment. Like.
Yeah.
or a DM. Like, and I think a lot of people do, unless it's just like a video that's blowing up.
When it comes. Yeah, I think it's the same thing when it comes to like celebrities too. When people like talk about Taylor Swift and they write all these things about her, and they think that she's just not listening, which I guarantee I guarantee Taylor Swift has a burner account TikTok and she's just looking through all these things that people are saying about her, you know?
For sure. Well, that was like the whole Reputation era. I feel like I really want to deep dive into Taylor Swift, but I feel like that might have to be postponed till next episode.
I think so too. I am really stoked that we got to talk about all of this with you guys, though. Like, this is a lot of Abby and I's lives as our jobs.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to be able to let you guys into, I guess, this side of what we do. Because I know we get a lot of questions about this, and I hope this kind of opened up some stuff as to what we do on the side, you know?
I also think that there's a lot of people that would like to get into something like this, and it's kind of nice to, like, hear other people, like, how they did it and whatever. Like, I feel like I didn't have anyone that was transparent with it online, so I didn't realize how much opportunity there was in it. Because I just didn't know until I was doing it. And then I was like, oh, wow. It kind of works.
Yes.
But,
no, I completely agree. But
yeah.
Yeah, and also you guys are welcome to, like, I try to answer my DMs if they're, like, very specific questions. Obviously, I can't answer every, like, hi, how are you DM. But if you guys do have, like, very specific questions about that, my DMs are always open. I know Abby's probably in the same boat. But
yes.
I'm always here to answer those kind of questions for you guys if you have them. And speaking of questions, we have something that we did in the last episode called our Dear Abby segment. And this is where basically we have a Google form up, and I will link it in the podcast page. They're also linked in our Instagram bios and all that fun stuff. But we asked you guys to write us some questions. Your deepest, darkest, juiciest life questions. And we're here to answer them. Now, everything we say is true, but don't fact check us.
But you should follow our advice.
We are not licensed therapists, but you should follow our advice. But we are not licensed therapists. Please take everything we say with a grain of salt. We are just doing our best. But let's get on to the Dear Abby segment of this week, because it's a good one. This is, I feel like, very prevalent, especially for who Abby and I are. So I will go ahead and read it out. This person said, also, these are all anonymous, by the way. We do not know who wrote these, so you can be as vulnerable or out there as you want.
We would encourage it, actually.
Said, we very much encourage it. We want, like, come on, guys, like, give us something, please. Okay, anyway, this person said, I figure you two together are probably the most optimal pair to talk on this, so I'd love to get your thoughts. I'm 26 and have, up until now, called myself bisexual, dating guys and girls pretty equally, but I don't ever think I've had those feelings you're supposed to feel with men. And now I'm wondering if I'm just gay. LOL. I know labels are more or less useless anyway, but I've been trying to at least figure it out for myself so I don't potentially hurt others in the process. I've been reading a lot about comphet, which is compulsory heterosexuality. And if anything, I think I'm even more unsure now. Short to the long, I'd love to hear your personal identity journeys and any advice you might have. You guys are seriously the cutest and most fun duo I follow these days. Thank you for being hilarious, authentic, and sharing your lives with us. Heart.
Aw, that was very sweet. I think for me, I also came out as bisexual. I am not bisexual. And I think it was hard because I was a late bloomer. Like, I was, like, very much the girl that was, like, not really interested in dating. I would go on dates with, like, these really great guys that were so nice, so cute, on sports teams at our school, and, like, just not want to go on a second date. My friends were always like, Abby, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, the vibe just wasn't there. Like, just didn't really like him that much. And anyway, I ended up, my whole coming out story was kind of a shit show. Ended up coming out and kind of realizing that I liked women, and then met my first girlfriend and we started dating. And that was when I realized, like, it wasn't until that moment that I realized that I had never had any even crushes on men. And I think that it's hard to explain because when it's something that you haven't experienced, even when other people are talking about it, like, you don't you don't know that that's not how everyone else is feeling. Like, I would pick people to have crushes on in like high school and stuff based on who was like most socially acceptable for me to have a crush on. If a guy liked me and like a lot of people thought that he was really cute or whatever, or really liked him, then I would like him back because I was like, oh, like this must be like a person that I should go out with. Like, and I would like date people based on that, which sounds really horrible when I say it, but it was not in any ways like malicious or anything. That was just like all I knew. And then when I met my first girlfriend, I was like, oh, okay, like this is what it's like to have a crush on someone. This is what it's like to like actually want to like kiss someone. And I think also the way that women talk about having sex with men made it so confusing for me because all in college, like people would be talking about how shitty their sex lives were with men and how they never finished and how like whatever. And I was like, oh wow, I'm having all of these same experiences. Mine were for very different reasons. But anyway, yeah. So then after that experience, and I also read the Lesbian Master Doc. If you are wondering, like, if it's compulsory heterosexuality, you should definitely read that because it is so much of like kind of what we're taught growing up. And once you kind of break down like, okay, what experiences and like what behaviors was I doing that were learned versus what was like innate and natural, right? Because when you start having crushes on women as another woman, it's unnatural in the sense of what you've been taught growing up. So you're like, wait, why am I feeling this way? And then you're kind of like deconstructing that versus you've been taught to have crushes on men. So you have to like kind of go back and do that rework of like, would I have crushes on them if I wasn't taught to? I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like that's kind of what I did.
No,
and
for
then
sure.
I never dated another guy again. So.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, I think that, I don't know, so I'm bisexual, obviously, we all know that. But I don't know, I didn't give myself a label for it for the longest time. And still, bisexual is just the closest label to, I guess, what I feel. But I'm more attracted to just like people's energy. I don't really think about gender when I'm attracted to people. I just kind of think about how I feel around them and if our energy is good. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you know that you like men and you know that you like women, which it sounds like you do, but you haven't had, but it feels different with women and maybe that you prefer dating women, then like just go with that, you know? That's totally okay. Like I think that there's a lot of pressure in our society to just define yourself with a label, or the pressure to like take that ownership over yourself with the label. And I think that can be a really powerful thing for a lot of people, especially if you're like really sure and set in what you want. But it's also totally okay to just be fluid with it and to just let yourself feel what you want to feel and let yourself do what you want to do and like love who you want to love without the, pressure of that label on yourself. I think sometimes labels can be really restrictive, especially if you're just exploring what you want and exploring yourself. I think it's totally okay to just kind of put that label to the side for now and just let yourself kind of be free for it and, move how you want, flow how you want, date who you want.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. I feel like society puts way too much pressure to like put us into boxes, especially I feel like a lot of that pressure too comes from like the like straight people in the world that want to know how to like understand us. And so they need to know like exactly, I don't know, just like who you are and what you want. And like you don't have, like you could date women for 10 years and then meet a guy and be like, oh my God, like I really like him. And like, that's totally fine. Like, and your label can also change as you get older, or you can just like not put any label on yourself from the start. Like it doesn't matter in terms of like.
Yeah. And I think it's really healthy to like explore yourself in that way too, because you could have like a couple really bad experiences with men and then just be like, well, I'm gay, I'm just gay. Just because you've had that bad experience. And I was actually having this conversation with my friend a while ago about how I think a lot of women especially who have these really negative experiences just don't ever want to look that way ever again. And I think that is a very different thing than just not being attracted to men at all. So I think it's healthy to explore those things and really like get to know yourself in that way. And I really think that's what dating is. Dating is a reflection of who we are. Dating is how we see ourselves in a mirror.
Yeah.
You know, we date people and we get these questions of our own selves brought up, and that's how you get to know yourself. So I think that's really healthy, and I think you're doing just that, and I think you're doing a great job. So
yeah, I agree.
You got this. Yeah, don't freak out. Don't try to define yourself if you don't want to. But if you do want to, just be happy to explore that and take that as an opportunity.
Yeah,
and a good opportunity to explore.
And read the Lesbian Master Doc.
I still need to read that. I'm not a lesbian, but I am bi, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like in terms of, yeah, it just really helped me, like, kind of, like, I was like, oh my God, that's me. Like, and that's not going to be everyone's experience reading it, for sure. But, like,
for sure, it
gave me a lot of clarity. So it might give you a lot of clarity. It might not.
Well, I'm so glad we got to answer that for you.
Me too.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to wrap up this episode. It is going to be a longer one, which I'm kind of stoked for. But next week, we will catch you up on all the things Taylor Swift and the other side of the Abbeys. But for now, that is Between the Abbeys.
That is Between the Abbeys. We love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. This has been so much fun for us to be like just open and honest and vulnerable on like a long form platform, because both of us are short form creators, which makes it hard sometimes. So
it's so fun. I love these conversations. But yeah, we will catch you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Love you.
Bye, guys.